had a few sort of blowbacks from jokes and gags that just people don't see this. They don't see the fun side of it. That's one thing. When it's just text, that can happen. That can happen easy enough. I was going to say, none of us are. I am actually pro mono. I like mono. Mono is useful as instead of stereo, because I mean when you've only got one speaker, you don't want to do the whole stereo thing. So I'm very much pro mono in that circumstance.
Yeah, the whole show is actually the show is only mono, always.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I'm very much pro mono in that context. So I'll put that on record.
And we are going to regret saying that, because that's bound to get a reaction.
I just want to reply with a few points about one thing you said about trolls is the word is probably overused, and that's also true for the word terrorists now. And it's been pointed out by lots of people, also in security, you cannot just call anything you don't like terrorism, because then you generalize the term, which refers very specifically to use of force or violence in some way. And that has to be by the definition of terrorism, that has to be the case, that you have these components. The other thing I wanted to say was that the people tend to paint trolls in some cases where they obviously should not, and one of them when the other person is rude, even in a public forum, not a specific forum, for example, somebody disrupting the forum of the other side, but a person just doing something that's kind of not polite. That doesn't make the person a troll. You know, the person might just be naturally quite a rude person, and this does happen. And also the other thing that the weird situation where I see people being described as trolls is when they basically do their own blog, or when they just run an account. Basically, they just write something in their own turf. You know, they don't intrude anyone's turf. They just write something, and they've been called, "Oh, you're a troll," and that's really hard to judge. I mean, if a person is doing something in his house, can he really terrorize somebody else? You know, if a person is doing something in his house privately, that's basically what a person would do. Nobody forces them to come and read these sites. They don't go into somebody's sites and leave comments or, you know, go into forums and insult people. They just write their opinions usually. Maybe they write kind of inflammatory things, but you don't have to read them, so...
I'm pleased you mentioned that, because it did baffle me. I mean, only in the last sort of maybe four articles, I was called a troll on my own blog, and I was struggling to work out how that actually did work. Like you say, you're not forcing anybody to come to your site, and if they don't like it, well, it's very, very simple not to visit it again. But to be labelled with the word troll when it's your site and you're offering people the option to discuss your opinions, and if they have a problem with your opinion, then obviously why not say so? But yeah, like I say, I think the troll name is we have so many names that use out of context anyway. I mean, piracy is one that produces quite a few different emotional responses and different viewpoints. Like Roy said, terrorism, and I think troll as well. I think that's used far too often, and it doesn't mean anything. Yes.
I mean, maybe a better word for. I mean, I'm thinking of the Identica crew of the people that come in and they intentionally try to just insult people. Maybe a better word than troll is agitator.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's more accurate for what they're doing in that instance. But yeah, I mean, it is quite a common word that's bandied about. So, and I do like, in fact, I do like that we've been able to have this discussion and intentionally not name people. I love that.
Yeah. Oh no,
it might sound oblique, but I mean, what I was keeping in mind when I was describing the whole blog post thing was the lyrics in the I Fought the Troll thing. They're right, for people who listen to the very end of that tune, the voiceover, and it's saying, "I'm basking the glory that you're not going to have because I'm not mentioning your name." Yeah. So I was just keeping that in mind when I was trying to explain the story and hoping that it wouldn't slip. And the same when talking about Identica and things like that. I love that.
And I mean, I think as well, it's important to know, for myself.
Sorry, Roy. You should mention there is this kind of a stalker type sometimes in the net, and I've seen quite a few of these types, and they can be very abusive, aggressive types. They can be the person who stalks you because they want to basically make your life miserable type person, and the other stalkers who are stalking you for the purpose of trying to criticize, to build a constructive criticism of the person. And all these people, they become extremely obsessed. It's almost like they have some sort of a syndrome, but they can really put a lot of hours and effort. Even if they get no attention, you don't have to respond to these people, but they'll carry on and on even without getting any attention.
I thought that as well. The person who was trying to continue his fight on my site, he is so obsessed with you, Roy. It's unbelievable. I mean, what it reminds me of is the digital equivalent of him pulling your pigtails, and trying to get your attention because he's secretly got a crush on you, but he can't tell you. That's. I mean, I'm joking, obviously, but that's the sort of thing. I don't know what what his problem is at all. He seems to have completely lost any objectivity. When you look down his dents, and they're all, it's virtually every third or fourth dent maybe that you put out. He finds that to then attack you and criticise you, and it's like this guy got no life at all, other than to do that. He's completely obsessed.
I mean, it's a very bizarre set of circumstances, and it's made very difficult because we're online and we're typing to each other mainly. I mean, certainly, I think I know who you're referring to, and I mean, my experience of that person, we've had some long debates, and we certainly don't agree on much, if anything. I think it's fair to say, and the intentions behind that person commenting on my site, I would hope, was in the spirit of a good debate, because as it transpired, we had a very good discussion. And it does seem strange that obviously the different experiences of different people, and this is why I think we should be obviously rather careful on who we label, and it's probably a good idea that we don't name, because at the end of the day, a lot of people have, I have some very good friends who are very decent people, and I know actually personally in the real world, who get attacked and get labelled by many people, when the truth is the real person is nothing like that at all. I mean, Roy, you're probably the best example. I know you, obviously, because I met you in person, and we met each other down in Luton, and what I read on the internet is not what obviously is the true fact. So I think it's one of these things where unless we have personal experience, we can never ever make a judgment call. It may be this person you have personal experience with. I don't, and I sort of see them more as a debater, and somebody who popped up on my site once or twice. But that was just my 10 pence in the interest of fairness to balance it out.
One of the things that you find is if it's in like a chat room type scenario, one of the things that people, we'll call them agitators rather than trolls, if they're there to just cause a fight and get people annoyed, is that they want to annoy you to lose your temper. It's like in a football match where when Cantona came back after his lengthy ban for his kung fu kick, he came back to the Manchester derby. Of course, he was the target of all the hefty tackles to try and get him to lose his rag and lash out and get another ban. He didn't. He kept his cool and he scored twice to win the derby. But the point is, they want you to lose your rag and say something in the heat of the moment that they can then use against you. Now, for me,
it's a very common thing in the courtroom. I don't know if you noticed, they use it against judges sometimes to get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with that is they rely on you having enough of an ego to actually, if I've seen it before when you say, right, I'm ignoring such a person, in the chat room or the IRC channel, but they don't actually do it. They're still reading it. They just say that they're ignoring it, and eventually they kind of lose the rag and they lash out, and they sort of let slip that they have not actually ignored them. Well, one of the things that people, agitators, expect that response. They expect that behaviour, and I mean, what I find is hilarious is when they try that against me, because if I say I'm ignoring someone, I genuinely ignore them. So I don't see what they're saying. They can call me anything they want. I don't care. I don't see it. and anyone who wants to continue talking to them, I'll ignore them too. It's no skin off my nose. It's no biggie to me, and I genuinely just ignore them. So it's not